What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Coast Avengers. We have Darren, Christian, JT, Dominic's not here. He might join a little bit later, running a little bit late. And of course, me, Josh. Today we have a very special episode because we have a very special guest. We have Sean, host of ParaReality. New shows air the first and third Friday of every month at 8 p.m. Central, available on all podcast apps. Sean, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. How you guys doing?
Man, we're really excited to have you.
Doing great.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys letting me be on the podcast, man.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. Did you kind of want to tell us a little bit about, what your show is about?
Yeah, sure. Name of my podcast is called ParaReality. It has nothing to do with comic books or anything like that, and I'll explain my interest in that in just a minute. But my show deals with a lot of like conspiracy theories, unsolved mysteries. Sometimes I'll get into a little bit of paranormal stuff, but it's mostly like a lot of conspiracy theory stuff, and I'll deal with some stuff like, is there such a thing as Bigfoot, or do aliens exist, ancient alien astronaut theory and stuff like that. Been doing that since about 2004, believe it or not, since before podcasting was even podcasting. So I've been doing it for a while. And like I said, it's available on your podcast platform of choice. I have some interesting guests on my podcast every so often, and some co-hosts, and we get together and have conspiracy theory chats and just kind of guess about what could be, or what is really going on behind our backs that we don't know about.
Right.
Man, I know you have experience with radio. Is that right?
Yes, I do. So originally my podcast, or my show was called ParaReality Radio. And that's because when I first started, I was doing internet radio. Like I said, it was podcasting before you called it podcasting. And I had just a once in a lifetime opportunity to actually get on a terrestrial radio station. And I did a show on WRFN Radio Free Nashville here in the local Nashville area for a little over 2 years, about 2.5 years. That's almost every like podcaster's dream, right? Is to do it professionally, and I had so much fun doing that. And the only reason that I gave it up was because I was still doing my own show from home. And I was trying to do that and do a radio show, go to school, and work a full-time job, and something had to go, So had to let it go.
I gotcha. I'm sorry to hear that. Well, it looks like you're still back in business, though.
Yeah, man. I retired for about 2.5 years, and I missed doing it so much that I was like, man, I gotta get my creative outlet going, and had to ask my wife for permission, because, you can't just do it, right? So I had to ask the boss for permission, and she was like, yeah, you can go ahead and you can do it. And so much had changed because, podcasting was a thing. And I was like, okay, now I have to figure out, how do I podcast? What's the difference? And there really is none. It's just the same thing. So
Sweet.
Not a lot of learning curve.
Is there anything you kind of wanted to talk? Well, first of all, I see that you're wearing a Spider-Man shirt, so
Gotta represent.
Yeah,
Yes,
so obviously you'll be joining us in our normal discussions, and I can't wait to really get to the topics at hand. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, man. People probably watching this or listening to it, and they're like, what is a guy who does a conspiracy theory podcast doing on your podcast where you talk about comic book stuff? And I am a nerd, man. I'm an OG nerd. I grew up reading comic books. I was a Spider-Man fan from when I was in single digit age, probably, 7 or 8 years old. I come from a very small town in Southeast Alabama, and we didn't have comic book shops anywhere close to where I was. And the only way I could get comics was when my mother went to the pharmacy to pick up her prescriptions. She would take me with her, and they had the white racks that were tall and spun around, and they had those full of comic books. And every month when my mom went to the pharmacy, I went with her and I got to pick out a comic book. And I always gravitated towards Spider-Man. And just from a young age, the character, I don't know, it just struck a chord with me. And I've been a Spider-Man fan ever since. And I'm a Marvel guy. I admittedly, I don't know a lot about DC. I've just never really gotten into a lot of the characters with DC. But, you know, I know enough about it. I can hold my own in a conversation. But I'm more of a Marvel guy, specifically Spider-Man. I can talk all day about Spider-Man. Love it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very cool.
Very cool.
All right. Is there anything that you guys wanted to ask Sean?
Oh, yeah. Fire away. Yeah.
So you're a big nerd. What's your favorite fandom? What do you like the most? Like Star Wars, Marvel? I mean, I know you grew up on comics and whatnot, but
Yeah.
I grew up with comics as well. But my favorite is Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. I'd have to say it is a tie. It's between Spider-Man and Star Wars. Unfortunately for me, I'm a lot older than you guys, and I saw Star Wars in 1977 or 78 whenever it came out on the big screen when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
I saw that first run movie theater with my dad, and we walked in probably about, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes into the movie, so I didn't get to see the big opening scene, but we walked in when the stormtroopers were all
Oh yeah.
everybody, and I was immediately like, what the heck is this? And it just kind of stuck with me. So I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm wearing either a Spider-Man shirt or a Star Wars shirt, like 24/7. So
That's
Awesome.
I definitely can understand that. I do too, and only recently too.
It was literally a carbon copy of you, because if you can see in the back, he has a Revenge of the Sith poster and a Spider-Man poster. Literally, it's like Star Wars and Spider-Man. It's like his.
Those are my two things. That's what I've
Yeah.
always.
yeah, we're best friends already.
That's right.
I knew I liked you from the moment I first talked to you.
That's usually the impression I get with people. So
Yeah, I can tell.
I wanted to ask you, Sean, do you play video games? Because there's the Spider-Man PS4 game that came out back in 2018. A lot of people loved it. And I know you're not a big DC guy, but the Batman Arkham games are fantastic. I'm wearing a Wayne Industries hat.
See,
And I love those games with a passion. So I was wondering, do you have any experience playing video games at all, or delving into that kind of medium?
Yeah, I've tried my hand at the PS4, and I even bought I bought a PS4 because the Spider-Man game was coming out. That's the only reason I bought it. And I have, I think, 2 games. One's a Star Wars and one's the Spider-Man game, and I suck at both of them. It's a lot different than when I grew up playing. There's more buttons, more combos, and I've just never taken the time to sit down and really try to figure it out. But yeah, I've played the games. I love the Spider-Man game. I suck at it really bad.
I hear you.
Yeah. Maybe you can find someone who can play it, so you can look at the cutscenes and stuff like that.
Yeah, one of my best friends is he's got a PS4, and he bought the Spider-Man game and played it all the way through its entirety, and he was trying to teach me how to do it, the moves and everything. And I had to spend a whole entire night with him making fun of me as I was getting killed every 30 seconds. It was horrible.
Now, Sean, I don't know if my internet connection is very glitchy over here, so I don't know if I'm frozen, but I'm probably know the answer to this. But what is your favorite Marvel movie that you've seen so far?
Oh gosh, Marvel has really come a long way with their movies. I would have to say probably my favorite is the Tom Holland Spider-Man Homecoming.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was not happy whenever Marvel chose Tom Holland to play the role of Spider-Man, and admittedly, I didn't even know who he was. I had to look him up on the internet because I never heard of him, and I was like, oh God, there's some English guy, playing Spider-Man. I'm like, why come they can't get an American dude? So, and I wasn't too thrilled with the idea. And when I saw the movie, I was like, okay, this guy, that's Peter Parker. He embodies the spirit and the character of Peter Parker to a T. And he really does the character of Spider-Man really good justice, in my opinion. And I was sold on him.
Well, I have a follow-up to JT's question. Did it take you until Homecoming to feel that way, or how did you react to when you saw him in Captain America: Civil War?
Yeah, I was impressed when I saw him in Civil War. I didn't really. I mean, he was only in there for just a few minutes, and you didn't really, he was as Spider-Man the whole time. So I couldn't really get a feel for how it would be as a whole. And I'm old school Spider-Man, and I'm what I call a Spider-Man purist. I don't like for them to don't mess around with my character too much, because I'm not going to like it. And I was afraid they were messing around with it a little too much. But what I admire is that they didn't bore us with another origin story, because everybody knows it by now.
Right.
And they really found someone who could embody both characters, because before we didn't have that. Tobey Maguire, I thought, did a really good job. The second guy, I can't remember his name anymore. That's how much I liked him, So I was really, I was a little ticked off that they were, I was like, oh God, we're going to get another stupid origin story, and they're going to have 80,000 bad guys in there. And that's been Marvel's Achilles heel, I think, is that you got a good character and you get someone to play him, but the director and the writer knows nothing about comic book lore, and then they're going to try to stick every villain in the movie that they possibly can to suck all the joy out of it, So I was happy that Marvel finally has started doing justice, and that's thanks to Kevin Feige. He is controlling what's going on, and it's working, man.
Yeah, it is.
Nice. That's good.
Absolutely. So, Josh, what kind of topics and stuff we got for today?
Sure. Before I do that, I'm just going to shout out his Twitter. Be sure to follow him at ParaReal Radio. I'll link that in the description. Also, obviously, you'll probably see this in the video. So be sure to follow that and check out his content if you really are into conspiracy theories. We're going to go ahead and start with some Marvel news. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of skim through. This first note is the new Black Widow trailer. I'm sure you've heard of it. I'm sure you've heard of this news that the new Black Widow trailer is coming. What?
You said you're over here stumbling.
I know. I don't know what it was about that sentence, but I couldn't spit it out. The new Black Widow trailer is coming. One will be 2 minutes and 38 seconds.
Supposed to be two of them, right?
Yeah, and the other is going to be 1 minute and 44 seconds. So be on the lookout for that. I'm not sure exactly when it drops. I don't know if they gave an exact date.
In Canada, they have seen the trailer. Canadians have seen it.
I'm surprised we haven't had any spoilers or any leaks on Twitter.
The only thing that they said about the trailer was we get more Red Guardian, and that's what it's been. That's all I've been reading. So that's good. I mean, in my opinion, that's good. We didn't get to see a lot of Red Guardian in the first few trailers that they dropped, but now we're seeing a lot more of them. So
yeah, the second
let's
part
get
of
into that.
This is going to be the discussion part. Is Black Widow director Kate Shortland has teased a few things about the upcoming movie, like the movie will propel and other female storylines with Yelena Belova, that Scarlett Johansson will pass the baton to Florence Pugh, who's playing Yelena Belova, which obviously begs the question is,
Tom's here.
Tom.
Hey, maybe he's here.
Hello.
There he is.
There we go.
Okay, well, Dom, here's Sean. Sean, there's Dom. This is our 5th member of East Coast Avengers. And
Ask you to join us, Dom.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm running late. I had some family stuff I had to take care of, but I'm here. It's great to meet you, Sean.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, luckily we only kind of just started. We're not even 20 minutes in.
We literally just hopped into our topics. We were having a little discussion about who our favorite characters were and whatnot.
Yeah. So just to continue that question, in case you didn't hear, Dominic, the director of Black Widow, Kate Shortland, has teased a few things about the upcoming movie, like the movie will propel a female storyline with Yelena Belova, with that Scarlett Johansson will pass the baton to Florence Pugh, who plays Yelena Belova, which kind of begs the question. Obviously, we know Black Widow's dead. Spoiler alert.
What?
Yeah, exactly. But
Are you kidding?
is this the end of Black Widow, the mantra of Black Widow? And it seems that, there might be some ideas of Florence Pugh just carry on the mantle. So what do you guys think about that?
That's a good question. I think it's pretty interesting. I don't know. I have mixed opinions about this. I don't really know what to say right now. I know.
For me, I don't mind it. And if I'm being honest, I probably would have guessed that would have happened. But much like a lot of other stuff, I just don't know why they said it. They could just left it in the movie for us to watch.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's a pretty big step for the Black Widow mantle. Because at this point, Black Widow is more of it's not just focused on the person. It's focused on well, obviously one person could be Black Widow at a time, but it's not just going to be just one person can be Black Widow. Another person can be Black Widow, But I feel like they should just wait it into the movie until we saw it, and then we can get that idea.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I would have guessed that, but I kind of wish I just waited until the movie came out. But other than that, I like that idea. I mean, it makes sense.
Well, that's kind of what happened in the comics, right? I mean, didn't she pick up the mantle of Black Widow in the comics?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
she did for a short time.
Yeah, but the movies have always been a little different than the comics, and just from a movie standpoint, to someone who hasn't seen the comics or hasn't read the comics, and just revealing, just I would say just save it, into the movie, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Now, for me personally, I think this. I unfortunately saw this kind of spoiler news coming out. I mean, we were already supposed to see the movie. Now we have to wait a couple more months. That just means more people have to keep the secret. And then just so happens the one thing that the director of the movie has come out and said that, Florence Pugh is going to take, not really take over, but she's going to be the next big thing dealing with Black Widow. Now, what does that mean? Who knows? I don't think they're going to say Black Widow is going to be in the next movie, but they may play it off again, like Christian said. Marvel, likes to go with their comics, but kind of go off the path a little bit. So I just hope we don't get any more spoilers. That's all I hope.
Yes. Yeah.
That was a huge spoiler for me right there. I wish, like Christian said, she didn't, say that. But it also at the same time, it was kind of expected because, we all know Black Widow is dead, and then she'll probably pass on the mantle to Yelena for probably maybe several movies at this point. And then we don't know what Florence Pugh's contract is looking like since they haven't released details about it. So we don't know if she'll appear in other movies or if she'll just, just take the Black Widow mantle and then just end it from there and then let her, kind of let her story continue off screen. But I don't know. I just wish, she didn't lay out that big spoiler for all of us, even though we were supposed to get the movie a few months ago. So that's just my thoughts on it.
The rest of the movie.
I keep hearing or I keep reading how they're saying that, Florence Pugh's doing such a good job. They didn't expect her to be that good. And I can only assume they're talking about her physicality and the way that she played the action scenes. And I don't know if any of you saw that movie she was in last year, Midsommar.
Yeah.
But I thought that movie was horrible. And I can't imagine that person, the character she played in that, translating to being a physical badass in, Black Widow.
And then she's also
keep an open mind.
She's pretty young too. I think she's the same or around the same age as all of us, so they probably want her in the Black Widow mantle for a long time at this point, just like how, we have Tom Holland as Spider-Man. He's the same age as all of us, and they, of course, for sure want him in the long run too. So they just have to, I guess, think about actors who they want in the long term, and I guess age comes into play too. So that might have played a factor into Scarlett Johansson passing it to Florence Pugh at this point.
Probably so. Yeah.
Actually,
Tom Holland is JT's age. He's 26.
Now I think she's my age. I think.
No, I said Tom Holland.
Tom Holland.
you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Tom Holland is around my age. I think I'm a little bit older.
Nah, he was JT's age.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, how old are you, JT? You're 25, right?
I'll be 27 in a few weeks.
Sucks so bad.
But JT is really 52 at heart.
Okay, listen,
I'm
we're
older
not.
than all of you. You all suck.
All right,
Josh.
what, Darren?
I was gonna say, what do we have next?
Sure. The Russo brothers say that Cap's time travel adventure during Endgame would be a great story that they'd love to tell, yet admit that they don't fully know whether it needs to be told.
Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I feel, Disney Plus, but I feel like they should just leave it untold and leave your
Right.
imagination to do the work.
Yeah.
I agree.
Not everything. I was going to say,
Yeah. Go ahead, Dom.
not everything needs to be told. So they could probably just leave it there at that point and just leave it, in our imagination, that we could just come up with whatever story he uses.
There's
or
not
whatever
much
story
to
we come up
imagine.
with.
There's not much to imagine because, he returns the stones in their specific timelines, then goes back with Peggy. And, it's obviously in the 40s. They're playing that old music. So, and she's still alive. She still looks the same age. So you can just go from that. Hey, he might have had kids. He might have, heck, who knows? That's where imagination kicks in. But
the only thing I can think of is if they're going to make a movie in the future and something happens that involves time travel, and probably Cap affected something when he went back in time. That's the only thing. That's the only thing I can imagine them going back and even visiting that point of the MCU timeline, is if like later on in Spider-Man 5 or something, something gets affected, and then it's a flashback to when Cap went back with the stones at the end of Endgame, and then he, like a domino effect, and he changed something. Because you know how time travel works. When you mess up something, it has like a butterfly effect, and this thing changes that thing, So
right.
That's the only way I can think of when it comes to like, oh yeah, that's the only time they'll go back in time for when it comes to that. But,
Well, what about the idea that Cap and had kids, and now let's say he had a son, and his son is growing up in our time, and that's going to be the new Captain America.
yeah,
That's
that too, yeah.
that'd be
And they
pretty
can do that. It's not out of MCU fashion too. It sounds like something they could do. So,
They're pretty true to the comic book characters, but you've got to look at it. There's the comic book universe and there's the cinematic universe, and they don't always jive.
Right.
I think that would be a great story arc for them to take in the movies, is to do a what if type deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
whatever.
Definitely.
All right. So
Now,
next,
the only.
sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. What I was just going to say, to me, what it sounded like is we all know sports. We all know basketball. You're on a fast break. Someone throws up an alley-oop, and then the other person dunks it. It just sounds like the Russos are throwing up an alley-oop for Disney to be like, cash in. That's what it sounded like to me.
Yeah.
Could be.
All right,
And
guys.
by the way, we'll write it and direct it too if you want us to, Disney. Yeah.
Yeah.
Call us up.
Oh, JT, I was going to say, Florence and Tom, they're both my age. So we're all 24. So we're a little bit younger than you, just a little bit. So
Don't listen to him, Sean. Don't listen to him.
I may have to. I may have to take a break.
All right, Josh, what's up?
Oh man, for my Daredevil Netflix viewers, guys, unfortunately,
oh,
got some bad news for you guys. Got some bad news for you. Paul White, aka The Big Show. If you're a wrestling fan, you know who The Big Show is. He is in discussion, not even discussion, he's rumored to possibly take over the role of Wilson Fisk, who's already casted in the Daredevil Netflix series as Vincent D'Onofrio, is the one that, portrays him. And a lot of people really like Vincent D'Onofrio. I mean, obviously Dominic does. A lot of people really, really like Vincent D'Onofrio's portrayal of of Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin. What are your opinions on the Big Show taking over that?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I'll leave it at that.
And the Big Show act.
Thank you. That's what I want to know.
No. Look now, okay. I put out recently. Let me go back on our Twitter. I put out a poll recently asking our fans what they thought about said poll or said actor who should be in the next Daredevil film, and we had roughly around 60 votes, 55-ish, and 58% said Vincent should be the next Daredevil. And I agree with Dom. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. However, the only issue with that and the only caveat with that is we all know that Marvel does not like to take characters or take actors from their other shows. And we all know, Netflix, they don't have those shows anymore. They don't like taking actors from there and putting them on the big screen. So this just tells me that Big Show is kind of nudging them a little bit, saying, hey, I'd do it. I mean, he does look the part. I'll say that. That's about it.
Yeah.
He's a big 7-foot bald white man. So
yeah, honestly, he, the comic guy in me, he closely resembles more of the classic Kingpin, the one that's just monstrous. And Vincent D'Onofrio, I don't think he's that big. I mean, he's big.
He's big, but he's not, like huge or anything.
Not many people are going to be Kingpin size in real
life.
Hard to come by.
He's only
Big Show has opened the chat.
Yeah, he's only 6'4" versus a 7-foot giant that most people would, consider the real Kingpin to be. I guess it just comes down to preference. At the end of the day, it's not really. I mean, of course, if you look like him, it helps. But at the end of the day, it depends.
That makes up for his height.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing like Kingpin.
Yeah, and he has Vincent D'Onofrio. Obviously, a lot of people like him, so we'll see what happens.
Well, Josh, to go off what you said about looks, as we've noticed in the recent comic book runs and television runs of recent, Marvel, characters, they're starting to play and portray Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr. They're starting to, to mold them, these comic book, heroes into what Chris Evans actually looks like. We kind of discussed it a couple episodes ago, but I mean, again, I think it comes down to like what Sean asked: can he act? Don't think he can. I don't really remember any kind of movies. He has a Netflix show on.
He has a Netflix show, and then he did a couple small movies. And of course, sorry, but WWE does take a little bit of acting. So
yeah, it does. Hey, and if he does get this role, he will be in line with John Cena, who's going to be in a DC film, The Rock, who's going to be in a DC film, Batista, who's already Drax. So it's just, hey, Marvel and WWE, or I guess they're working together in something.
Yeah, that wasn't a shot at WWE, by the way. I'm not thinking it's fake and all that. I'm not going to get into all that, but it does take a little bit of
Josh know what he said, guys.
A little bit of dramatics, to kind of make the show go. And obviously he has enough because he's one of the biggest WWE stars of all time. So we'll see what happens. Moving on, definitely wanted to get Dom's opinion on this, and also because I know you're a huge X-Men fan. Actress Janelle Monáe has revealed that she would love to do Storm Justice in the Black Panther sequel. As an X-Men fan,
right.
What are your opinions on that?
Well, Dom, real quick, before you answer that as an X-Men fan, do you know Janelle Monáe as an actress? Because I haven't seen many movies. I don't know. I don't speak for everyone, but I haven't seen any movies. But if she was a good actress, would that be a good Storm, like on screen?
Yeah, so she's been in a few big movies as recently. She has one coming up later this year. I cannot remember the name of it, but it's like a horror film that she's in. But she's been in Hidden Figures, and of course that has like a lot of recognition in this country. If Bill Street Could Talk, I'm trying to remember some other movies, but she was in. But
I believe Antebellum is the movie you're trying to think about.
yeah, that was it. Yeah, that's the name of the movie that's coming out later this year. But yeah, she is a great actress. Don't get me wrong, great actress. I don't think she is the right person to do Storm. And if you ask me who would be the right person to do Storm, I don't know because there's nobody in my mind who I think can portray a great Storm. Not to say that it's bad or anything. I just can't think of like, the perfect actress, to portray Storm because everybody was like, oh, she has to be this, oh, she has to be that. And then, it's just so hard because there's so many great actresses out there. There's, I just can't think of who would be the perfect choice to play Storm. Now, in the past, I wanted Angela Bassett because she would have been the perfect Storm, especially, back in like when we had the X-Men trilogy in the past. She would have been a great Storm, and she's already such a phenomenal actress. That's why I wanted to play Storm at first back in the past, but we already have her in Black Panther where she plays Black Panther's mom. So it's just kind of, iffy on my part on who I want to play Storm at this point. So that's my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
Very
know
well
who is out there that's really that strong of an actress for Storm.
Yeah.
Not right off the top of my head, anyway.
Right.
Did you like the Storm? I mean, I think Halle Berry did a good job, but did you like the Storm in the in Apocalypse?
No.
Yeah. Okay, me either. I was just curious. Me either.
No, but I know some people give Halle Berry, a lot of bad, negative press about it. But in my opinion, I thought she was a good Storm. It was just the writing material that they gave Halle Berry when they made those X-Men movies back then. Because with Storm as a character in the comics, she's like this real strong female superhero. And then she's led the X-Men many, many, many times. And we haven't got like that particular Storm yet in the movies.
True.
So they need to try to find, somebody who has a commanding presence on the screen. Particularly maybe somebody that's actually African instead of getting somebody who's African American if they want to go down that route, because I believe they went down that route maybe a couple times before in past Marvel movies where they get people from other countries instead of people from the U.S. So it was just it just had to just have to try to get that character from the comics, get it on screen, get that character, comic accurate on screen. So I know it will be, a tough decision on Marvel's end to figure out who would the perfect actress be.
Probably have to be someone we've never heard of before.
Maybe so. They might grab a big name. They might grab a no-name actress. So
yeah, we all know
whoever is going to take over that part, she has some really big shoes to fill and a lot of expectations to fulfill.
Yeah.
We all know Marvel has a very good talent at finding people that no one's ever heard of and turning them into huge stars. So
Exactly.
okay.
Now, this is just a quick question before we go on to our next topic. Do y'all think Storm is going to be the first X-Men kind of mutant we see in the MCU, or you think it'll be someone else?
Well,
I think it'll be someone else because everybody's wanting to see Storm in the next Black Panther movie because, of course, Black Panther and Storm were married a long time ago in the comics. They're not even married anymore at this point. But that's who everybody wants to see. She might be the first mutant that we see before we get an X-Men film.
You'll get Wolverine first.
Maybe so. We might even get Wolverine first. I think we might get possibly Namor because, how they kind of hinted at in Endgame, with Okoye saying, we had like that underwater earthquake, everybody assumed it's Namor. So I feel like we might see him since he is, the actual well, not the actual first movie, but he was one of the first mutants in comic books. So I would say we might be able to see him first before we see any other mutant.
You know, Marvel Studios loves their teases. You know, their teases from Incredible Hulk, even though that didn't correlate with the MCU whatsoever, except the post-credit scene. But they teased Red Hulk, and, you know, we were talking about it like it was a while ago in our podcast, but, you know, they teased this and that. So, I mean, them teasing, you know, that disruption in the ocean from Endgame could be possibly leading up to something in the future. Granted, they don't have anything scheduled for right now, but who knows what we'll see in a movie if it's a soft introduction and then later on gets his movie in like phase 6. Who knows? But it's definitely something to look for. Keep your eye out in case they do rumor, you know, hey, this movie's going to be coming out soon. And it actually does. That'll be pretty cool. We'll have something new on our list. But
All right, Josh.
I think that about wraps it up for our Marvel news. So I think we'll hop into some DC news.
Yeah, we got some DC news here. Stargirl news, to be specific. It's going to be renewed for season 2, and it will not premiere on DC Universe. So that's unfortunate for the DC Universe subscribers. Constantine film in development at Warner Brothers with J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot serving as a production company and J.J. Abrams attached as producer. I know Darren had some comments about that. Darren, did you want to kind of tell us a little bit about that?
Personally, I hate remakes unless they're going to do a good job, but majority of the remakes are never good, honestly. And Constantine came out, it was in the early 2000s. I forgot what year, but that was, you know, a pretty early Keanu Reeves movie. It wasn't his first because those were in the 90s, but this came out, you know, early 2000s. Keanu Reeves was pretty big in it. I mean, I didn't see it in theaters. I kind of grew up with older siblings and they showed me this, and it was a pretty scary movie at the time. I was, you know, a child, but I loved the movie. I thought it was great. Now it's like, you know, the CGI, granted it's aged, it's not the best, but I don't think it needs a remake. I mean, it would be cool, but not everything needs a remake. And I don't know, that's just me though. I'm just biased on the old one because I like the old one with Keanu.
Well, I don't think it would be like a complete remake because if we think about it, I think this is going to set up for the Justice League Dark film that they're going to do on HBO Max later in 2021 or 2022. I can't remember. So they're going to try to get out all of these. I don't know how many solo films they're going to have before Justice League Dark, but they're just going to do these films to set up that team.
They're learning that they need learning that they need to introduce characters before they just drop a movie on the table. That's a good thing. But
I agree with Dom. I completely agree with Dom. This is definitely have to do with the Justice League Dark. It's no coincidence that J.J. Abrams is attached to both Justice League Dark and Constantine, and kind of dipping into our next rumor, I guess, and a Zatanna movie being in development, which she's also part of the Justice League Dark. So this could be their own version of, you know, like a superhero team up like the Avengers or, you know, Justice League. But for me, I kind of want a Constantine film because he's kind of like Deadpool, a little pulled back in terms of personality, but dealing with the dark arts and magic and demons and all that stuff.
Like Doctor Strange, but more on the paranormal.
Yeah, he's a little trolly and a little jokey, but he's serious when it gets down to it. Mm-hmm. But no, I completely agree with Dom. This has to do with the Justice League Dark. They're probably setting up because if they're gonna make a Justice League Dark movie, they need to have some movies before that comes out to establish some characters, like the big ones, which would be John Constantine, Zatanna, maybe Deadman, maybe a Swamp Thing movie, and maybe a Batman will be in there, but it's up to. Honestly, I don't even know with Batman. I don't know what they're doing with Batman at this point, but yeah.
They don't even know what they're doing with Batman at this point.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, I'm excited for the Robert Pattinson, but it's like in terms of the bigger picture, I don't know what they're doing. You know, like I don't know where does he fit and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, going back to the Constantine film, there is a rumor going around saying that they're possibly trying to get Keanu Reeves to come back and play Constantine.
I think
so. I feel like he would too, but I think we'll probably need somebody new in the role. And then I saw a lot of fans saying that they want the TV actor who plays Constantine right now from Legends of Tomorrow. I cannot remember the actor's name, but I've seen the clips.
There's already a Constantine like now. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like obviously not TV, but he's in a show.
Right, in the DC Arrowverse or the CW DC.
Legends of Tomorrow, which is the one on Netflix, right?
Hmm?
You said Legends of Tomorrow. There's a Constantine in that show.
Yeah, he's all over the Arrowverse. So he's been Legends of Tomorrow, been multiple crossovers with them. He was in the latest one that we had earlier this year. But I cannot remember the actor's name who plays Constantine. But everybody is begging for him to play Constantine in the new film, and he plays a great Constantine in my opinion. He's probably the best Constantine, live action Constantine that we have so far. I'm not sure of any others that we've had, but he does a great job of Constantine. And if they do happen to get that TV actor to play the movie version of him, that's great. If not, they could probably try to find somebody new to play him.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with Dama. I really do like that actor. He's always wearing the iconic brown coat. He looks like straight out of the comic books. And he's got that witty, personality that, very quick on his feet, like John is in the comics. And, he's in a couple anime movies too. Like the DC anime movies, if you want to check that out. But yeah, the only problem is they pretty much confirmed that those are two different characters whenever the DCEU Flash went into the CW universe and met their Flash. So unless they have like in the movie that if they pick that actor, his name is Matt Ryan, the actor. Right. If they get Matt Ryan, then they would have to have some kind of portal explaining him that he would have to be in a different universe with a different Flash. And I don't even know if he met that Flash that came over, Ezra Miller's Flash, or if he just heard about another Flash coming over. But I don't know if he got to meet him, And if they do meet, will he mention that? Like, hey, I remember when you came over and met our Barry, And this is all a big what if he gets hired. But this is just parallel universes, gets real complicated.
It sounds to me like J.J. Abrams is trying to set himself up to be the DC Universe guy. He's got his hands in so many projects. And I tell you, if you like your movies to have all action and no substance, no real storytelling, J.J. Abrams is your man.
That's exactly what I said. You should have heard me when we first talked about Justice League Dark, how I don't like J.J. Abrams being involved. And I said the same I'm going to say the same thing I said back then. He has too many eggs in different baskets. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why people like Kevin Feige sticks to Marvel. He's not limited to Marvel. He can do other stuff, but he focuses all of his energy, and he knows what he does best, which is Marvel, right? And the results pay out in dividends. I mean, people will praise him from now because of what the MCU is now, right? J.J. Abrams, man, he'll work on Mission Impossible to Star Trek to DC. It's like, dude, and all of his movies, it's just kind of mediocre.
Well, he has no original content. He's not coming in with an original movie. He's coming in on some franchise that's already been established before him. And
exactly.
His whole MO is to do that, and let's just throw action, and we'll build the story around the explosions.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of shots where the light blinds you on the screen. I don't know what that is. He loves doing that for some reason. I don't know. But yeah, I agree, man. Seeing J.J. Abrams on a DC project, especially as a DC fan, I don't hate the guy, but I'm just like, like.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't hate him, but I don't think he's. If you're wanting to get a good, if DC is wanting to get a good movie franchise universe going, you don't need to get J.J. Abrams to be the man to do that.
Right.
That's just fine.
So next topic, Christian already kind of teased a little bit, but there's a ton of movie to be in development. So there you go. There's a rumor. The next thing I think is to be a very interesting discussion to have. Warner Brothers is planning to reboot Justice League with a film entitled Justice League Rebirth. According to DCEU Mythic, the film will have no connection to either the 17 release of Justice League or the Snyder Cut version that's going to be releasing pretty soon.
So they messed up Justice League so bad with one movie that they're having to reboot it already.
Yeah, and then
That's basically what they're saying.
the Snyder Cut that's coming out soon anyway to make up for the original cut. So.
Yeah.
Getting three Justice Leagues. Yay.
Yeah. Rebirth. That's another part in the comics where, it was like the comics that we know now, right? Like, well, not that we know now, but that everyone knows. Where like, Superman and Lois are a thing. Lois Lane and Superman are a thing. Batman is Batman. Flash is Flash. All that stuff, right? Then Flash created Flashpoint Paradox, then became the New 52. In this version, things were similar but different. Superman and Lois Lane were not together, but it was Superman and Wonder Woman that were together. Batman and Talia al Ghul had a son named Damian Wayne, who became the fifth Robin. And a couple of things different. Then they rebooted it again and called it from the New 52 to just DC Rebirth. And that was where Godspeed came in as a new villain for Flash and a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's weird how they're going to call that Rebirth, and then they're in talks of making a Flashpoint movie, which is supposed to reboot it to be the New 52.
Right. There's no direction. There's no direction. There's no plan. It seems.
The thing is, it's Warner Bros. Man. Like they're one of the few companies who can rival Disney in terms of they can get the resources. Like they have the money to get the resources, right? Like Disney didn't start off like, oh my bad, Marvel didn't start off like $1 billion company, right? It built that up.
Well, not only that, they were like bankrupt there in the 90s. They had to really rebuild that up, and
that's why they sold off their rights to other companies like Fox and Sony.
And now they're trying to get it back all together again because now they're doing something good. But DC was at one point better than Marvel, and they have the money to find creative people. To me, it's just like Warner Bros. Is full of suits, man. It's just a bunch of people that are trying to make the most money, but there's no creative minds there that can piece all this together, and it's real sad.
What happens when there's someone that's so passionate about a project? Just look at the last Joker movie, right? That's one of the few movies that DC's put out, especially in recent time, that is just so. I mean, I know that there's a lot of people that really don't like it, and there's a lot of people that really love it, and I'm one of the people that really love it, and I know Christian does too, because it felt like
Joker poster.
It just felt like there was so much creativeness, but not only creativeness, but there was a message that it wanted to be told, and there was a lot of action, like you said. J.J. Abrams brings in all the action, tries to surround the movie, trying to make the story fit around explosions. Well, this one had no explosions, but the movie was just 10 times better because it felt like the passion was there. So you see what kind of stories you can make with DC when you put that passion. But like you said, a bunch of suits are just trying to capitalize on that, and it just never really feels authentic, and that's really what we're looking for. And that can happen through DC. There's a lot of characters you can build really good stories about. It's just a shame that it really seems like there's no plan.
Yeah, it's a shame how Green Lantern is still being laughed at, and he is so much more cooler than people think. Like they just like pointed to Ryan Reynolds, and he is so much more cooler than people think he is. But they just, and I can't blame them when they point to Ryan Reynolds. Not that no bash on Ryan Reynolds, he's a good actor. He just wasn't fit for that role, and that movie wasn't particularly written well. And people did it with Aquaman for the longest, man. It was like, oh, he talks to fish. I'm like, there's so much more to the character.
Well, like I said, that movie was actually pretty good. The Shazam movie,
it was decent.
They've kind of been making a turnaround. Like the Wonder Woman movie was pretty good. The Shazam movie was pretty enjoyable, and the Aquaman was pretty good too. So there are improvements, but it still just doesn't. I don't know where it's going. I know what Wonder Woman 84 is going to be coming out pretty soon. That was pushed back because of COVID, of course. But we don't know what the plan is for the future. We know there's going to be movies, individual movies, but with Marvel, we always know 5 steps ahead. Right now, no, because, we just finished with Endgame. But when we were in the height of it, before all this stuff, we always kind of knew where we were going, getting teases with Thanos, getting teases with Guardians of the Galaxy, and what stories could be told with that. There was always some sense of hope and future, and now we have X-Men and years. The X-Men can easily put in 10 more years of the MCU. So you have all of these ideas and planning, and we have a sense of maybe we don't know exactly what's going to happen in the future, but we know there is a future, that there is some sort of a plan, a plan. DC,
Marvel's scheduling it. DC's just winging it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're not structured. They need to be, and it would be great if they were, because they would be coming up with amazing movies. Because DC has equally as cool characters as Marvel, if not better. I love DC, but their movies have really thrown me off, so I just stopped dealing with DC, and I just kind of grown accustomed to Marvel movies coming out. Not because they're released more often, they're just a lot better. That's just how it is. But, like Christian said, if there were better people on DC's team, honestly, DC would be up there, and they would be making amazing movies.
Well, Josh made a good point, is that with the Marvel movies, you can tell there's passion involved in the project, whereas the DC movies just like, just show up and we'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
We got these actors to play the role, and we'll let them carry the movie. Well, you can't do that.
I wonder if it's because there's not a Kevin Feige in the DCEU at this point. Because I think that's probably the problem right there. They don't have like a leader to go and lead them into the direction that they're trying to go to. So I think that's one of the main things right there of why DC isn't so successful as Marvel Studios. And then plus, I think we've all said this before, like they tried to catch up to the Marvel movies the way that we're doing it now. Like I always say, like we got Justice League way too early down the line, because it started like in 2013 with Man of Steel. Then already 4 years later, we got Justice League, and that was already like 2-3 movies in at that point. So it's just, I guess they're missing that main leadership, and of course, they have plenty of directors. I guess Zack Snyder was the guy to go forward. With that, I guess he was supposed to be the Kevin Feige, but apparently that didn't work out. So I think it's just that main thing right there, is that they don't have like that type of head of leadership that they need at Warner Brothers.
Well, it's very plainly obvious that Kevin Feige sat down before. I mean, you look at it, and what started the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe? Iron Man back in 2008. So it's very obvious that Feige sat down before they even shot Iron Man and laid out the plan and said, this is what we're going to do, and this is the direction we're going to take the movies in. And DC, like you said, Dom, they're winging it. They don't have that one figurehead that has sat down and said, this is our plan. They're just movie here, movie there, throw some big names in it, make this character, and there we go. And it's just not working out.
The saddest part about it is you have the proof in the pudding. You look at all the DC animated movies, and those are just, most of them are great, and
they're killer.
Yeah, exactly. So
they're awesome.
There, you can make something out of it. So,
and I've said this from the get-go too. DC, I mean, their bread and butter has been comics, animated movies, and animated shorts. Like that has been their bread and butter from the get-go. And then once Marvel and Disney started just making these amazing movies and just putting out, billion-dollar movies after billion-dollar movies, they were like, oh, we have those characters. Let's do that. And they don't, and I was talking to Darren about this a couple of days ago, or maybe, earlier, but they need to start, the people up top, the brass up top is not stable. They try to go after big name people when Marvel says, oh, Tom Holland, he looks like a Spider-Man. Let's just try it out. Let's see how it goes. And then boom, we get him. Ben Affleck, great Batman, sure. A lot of people don't agree with that. A lot of people do agree with that. That that's another guy, a big name guy to play a big name character. Like that's how DC has always worked. Why not go for a guy that we have not heard of, and maybe make him who he, bring his comeuppance, really.
Not only that, but an actor that, okay, I'll put it this way. I said a little bit ago that I think DC is starting to turn the curve a little bit with kind of the independent movies, not in the DCEU. But now we're getting a Robert Pattinson Batman. And a lot of people give Robert Pattinson flack because of the Twilight movies, yet no one realizes he's done really – if you saw The Lighthouse, that's a fantastic movie. The guy can act 100%.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
Exactly. But so to kind of compare him to what Marvel did, Marvel looks for people that aren't as well known, or people that transform. They use kind of like
people that don't fit into the public's mind of the character.
Okay,
I
Robert.
mean, if you ask someone who do you think should be Batman, who would have said Robert Pattinson as their first guess?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, I think that they're starting to turn the curve, but unfortunately, that Batman is not part of the DCEU. This is kind of like another Joker movie. That's why I think that this Batman trilogy, if they make it into a trilogy, I think it could be super great. And you look at the Dark Knight trilogy with Christopher Nolan. There's no what's the word for it? Universe. There's no like universe behind it. It's just trilogy.
Yeah.
Here's what we have. They planned it out. There was, again, passion behind it. And you look and see how famous and incredible and legendary that trilogy is. So yeah.
I was going to say
Marvel's also really good at giving actors second chances. You look at Robert Downey Jr. He was going through like the worst time in his life, and then Marvel and Jon Favreau said, "Hey, look, we trust you. We like what you did on the screen test. Let's give you a shot." And then boom. I mean, literally, you can't think of Iron Man and not think of Robert Downey Jr. And then with what you said, Christian, earlier about Green Lantern, Ryan Reynolds said he was really excited about the movie, and then he saw the script, and then he was just like, no, like, this is not good. Like, this is terrible. I'll still do it, but this is not good. And then ever since then, he has talked crap about it because he knows it's not good. Like there's a certain line of when an actor knows his movie that he did and he was the main guy in it, that he has like, you see actors all the time who see like are terrible movies and they're like, oh, I had a really good time, doing this movie, blah, blah, blah. Ryan Reynolds was like, no, like,
Right.
no, that was a terrible movie. Like it's just, again,
I mean, it was, yeah.
Green Lantern was a terrible movie. And now he has that opportunity to work himself up. And he's done that with Deadpool, which, I mean, he is literally the perfect Deadpool.
Yeah.
So I know y'all saw the little kind of funny that he did when the X-Men cast were doing their Zoom call, and then he joined in and he was like, "Hey guys, what's going on?"
Yeah.
And Hugh Jackman was like, "Oh no, who gave him the code?" Something
what
like
was
that.
so funny was that everybody was like leaving, and then they're like, "Oh, I gotta go back to this so and so franchise. I gotta go back to this so and so franchise," and just left like you and Ryan hanging just them by themselves. I was like, dang, I didn't realize all these actors were in such iconic franchises back then.
And then Ryan Reynolds at the very end was with Hugh Jackman, and he said, just the two of us. You know what that means? And then all of a sudden, the actor who plays Sabretooth in Origins popped up, and he goes, Origins!
What's his name? Liev Schreiber?
Liev Schreiber.
Yeah. And I was going to say, going back to DC, I would say like why they're probably probably not as successful as Marvel is that because they don't have their own studio versus how Marvel has like Marvel Studios. DC only has Warner Brothers, so everything is coming from Warner Brothers themselves rather than just DC themselves. And I think if DC had like their own film studio, which I can see coming probably like in the foreseeable future, their movies will probably be a little bit better than they can have a more connected universe because they'll be answering to themselves instead of answering to Warner Brothers. Because from what I've read, Warner Brothers always try to interfere with all the DC movies, saying like, oh, we need to take this out and then we can add this in. So I've been hearing that a lot about a few of the DC movies, more of Justice League than any other movies. So it's just more of Warner Brothers involvement than letting letting directors do their own thing, give them their creative freedom to make what their movie should be about instead of having Warner Brothers come and interfere.
Right.
Great. All right, we're going to the next little rumor. I'll just quickly skim through this one and jump to the next small discussion. Patty Jenkins reveals that DC is considering making an animated series focusing on the Amazonians, or teasing World War III. So,
teasing Wonder Woman 3.
Wonder Woman 3. I'm sorry. I see WW3 in the notes, and I just automatically do 443. My bad.
That's like a different topic. She was also teasing Wonder Woman 3 if that was going to be a thing that she can make. So yeah, not World War 3.
All right, guys. Javicia Leslie casted as Ryan Wilder. Oh, by the way, this news came out like today, I think.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah,
This is
today,
special.
which is Wednesday if you're watching it. Anyways, the Batwoman for DC's Batwoman was finally casted today as Javicia Leslie, who's replacing Ruby Rose. So, anybody here watch Batwoman that has an opinion, or you just have any thoughts?
No, but I will definitely start watching because she left a quote saying that. Let me see if I can pull it up right quick.
Y'all remember, for that, y'all remember a few episodes ago when we mentioned that Ruby Rose was leaving? We were all wondering, like, who's going to, take her role. They didn't mention Javicia, I think that's how you say it, Leslie, to play Ryan Wilder. They didn't know. We were just curious. It was a few episodes ago. I was just curious, but now we actually have somebody. Now, this is confirmed, right? Like, this is not just like...
No, that's confirmed.
Confirmed, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so she said... I am extremely proud to be the first Black actress to play the iconic role of Batwoman on television. As a bisexual woman myself, I am honored to join this groundbreaking show, which has been such a trailblazer for the LGBTQ plus community. Now, we all know that the previous Batwoman, Kate Kane, I think she was lesbian, I think. So she was on the LGBTQ plus spectrum. And with Javicia coming into this role now, I believe she will be the second African-American superhero who is LGBTQ plus, because the first one is Nafessa Williams on Black Lightning. So she is the first LGBTQ African-American female superhero. And then we have Javicia as the second one. And going over Twitter and some of the articles that I've read, there have been a lot of positive reviews of Javicia coming in, taking over the role as Batwoman. Just seeing pictures of her, she's very gorgeous. I believe that she can. I believe that she can probably do this role justice, possibly maybe better than Ruby Rose, because a lot of people didn't like Ruby Rose as Batwoman. I think they released, some character details saying that Ryan Wilder, she is described as likable, messy, a little goofy, and untamed. She's also nothing like Kate Kane, the woman who wore the bat suit before her. With no one in her life to keep her on track, Ryan spent years as a drug runner, dodging the GCPD and masking her pain with bad habits. Today, she lives in her van with her plant. A girl who would steal milk for an alley cat could also kill you with her bare hands. Ryan's the most dangerous type of fighter, highly skilled and wildly undisciplined. She is an out lesbian, athletic, raw, passionate, followable, and very much not your stereotypical all-American hero. So that's a little bit character description of Ryan Wilder. For Batwoman, there's still no set time on when they're going to start filming or when season 2 will premiere because, of course, Rona. But it seems like everybody is pretty much excited for this. I might even start watching the show just because of this news. So we'll see what happens. And then I wish Javicia all the best of luck in this role.
Yeah, I agree too. I just hope they cover up within the first 10 minutes of like the first episode of season 2, like, oh yeah, Kate Kane died or something, so I'm the new Batwoman, or something.
Rona got
yeah.
They still haven't said anything on what is going to. They still haven't said anything on what's going to happen to Kate Kane's character. If she's going to be killed or she's going to be like softly written out, because we don't know if Ruby Rose is like willing to come back as like a cameo in like probably the far future or whatever. So I have a feeling that might just kill off Kate Kane at this point.
Yeah, and I just hope it's not a bad transition because although I liked Arrow in the beginning, the point where I was like, all right, I'm done was Stephen Amell, Oliver Green's character his identity was revealed as Arrow, or sometimes they call him the Hood. and then somehow he planned his death or something to make Oliver Green look like he died, and then he get in a new getup that looked just like his old getup, and now he's the Green Arrow, which is completely different hero from the Arrow or the Hood. So and that's a CW thing. They do that a lot, man. I don't know, and people seem to believe it. Like the public, it's like, oh, it's Green Arrow, but it's a different person than the Arrow. So hopefully, plot hole wise, they cover that, so it won't be as cheesy as Arrows.
I'm pretty sure they would. They would just like say like, oh, here's the new Batwoman. By the way, Kay Kane is gone, so here's Ryan Wilder at this point. I'm pretty sure they'll come up with a good story, to clean out all the mess that happened.
Right.
All right, cool. Is it everyone else had no opinions on this? All right, moving on. Last thing.
Yeah, it's about good for.
Yeah, we have some Star Wars. I don't know if it's a topic, but if you've been keeping up with Star Wars news, I know you've definitely heard of the rumors about the last 3 movies, the sequels, the infamous sequels, depending on who, what you prefer, is going to be pretty much abolished, thrown away. Basically, we're supposed to pretend like it never happened. But with that, apparently, Kathleen Kennedy could be kicked out of Star Wars as part of the rumor of the sequels being canceled. Part of the rumor of Star Wars being canceled, the way that the last 3 movies are basically going to be undone, is using the concept used in Star Wars Rebels with the world between worlds. And using that to it's basically like multi-dimension, all that stuff. And telling us that the last 3 movies were just like an alternate reality. So with that being said, what are your? I'll start with Sean because I know you're a big Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
As am I. As a Star Wars fan, what do you think about the last 3 movies, the sequels, being undone and Kathleen Kennedy potentially being replaced by Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau?
Yay to all of that.
Big yay.
Kathleen Kennedy, I think, just I can't say anything good about her. As far as the way that she's treated something as beloved and iconic as what Star Wars is, especially to my generation, I hope that the rumors are not rumors. I hope that it's true, that they do replace her. And, the fans have been demanding almost since right after they released the first of the last 3 movies to scrap the whole thing and start over. And it's a shame that they had to spend billions of dollars to give us 3 new Star Wars movies that were, for lack of a better word, shit.
Not even subpar, yeah.
Yeah, and now they're saying, well, okay, yeah, you're right. We're gonna erase this. We don't know what we're gonna do. We'll figure it out.
That after the fact that they spend billions of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, they could potentially make it worse. But if we can somehow pretend that those last 3 didn't happen and do it justice, I don't mind killing off beloved characters, Han Solo and Luke and all that, Chewie, whoever you want to kill off. That's fine because it's 30 years in the future or whatever. No one lives forever, but have it mean something. Don't kill the character off just to kill it off. You gotta have it mean something. And we didn't have anything in the last 3 movies that meant anything. Nothing that happened was of any significance as far as the Star Wars universe goes. It had no ties to anything. They were making it up as they went along, and they just took a big crap on everyone's beloved franchise. And, did I go see them? Yep, I sure did. Did I hate them? Absolutely hated every one of them, but I'm a Star Wars fan, and so I'm going to go see the movies. And even if they don't throw them away and they make new ones, I'm still probably going to go see those too,
The second part of that question was, obviously if Kathleen Kennedy is replaced, she would be, replaced by the 2 people that are probably the ones at the helm kind of in everyone's mind, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. And I don't know if you've watched The Mandalorian. I hope that you have.
Yes.
And I'm sure that, you're a big fan of that. Yeah, great. Mandalorian was great. Did you see season 7 of the Clone Wars?
No.
Okay. Highly recommend it. Clone Wars is incredible. I think Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are the two people that deserve to be at the helm personally. And I think that they could really do it justice this time if we're looking for two people.
I think Jon Favreau would do an amazing job. Not saying
Yes.
Filoni wouldn't, but Jon Favreau literally started up the MCU. I mean, granted, Kevin Feige and also the casting directors, but Jon Favreau played a huge part in Iron Man 1, getting RDJ on, and just making the first 2 movies. He helped out a lot. He's done, multiple other movies, and he's done a great job. Even in The Mandalorian, that's a big Star Wars thing. And I think he deserves it. I would love to see Filoni as well, maybe them together, but if anybody, I would go with Favreau.
Now, wait a minute. I got 2 questions. One, who is Kathleen Kennedy? Because I'm guessing she's like, now y'all know I'm not into Star Wars at all.
Yeah,
Okay.
JT, we're live with Dom.
Okay.
So is she like the Kevin Feige of Star Wars?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So y'all hate her that much.
Well,
Yeah.
depending on the fan, but for Sean, for sure, he doesn't-
Hate
Yeah.
the strong word. Hate the strong
Because
word.
you're the first person that I've heard say like, I hated the new trilogy. Because I think everybody here at ECA, they like the new trilogy.
Well,
You're
I thought it
probably
was
one of the first saying
I thought it was okay.
No,
Dom,
dude.
I mean,
Dom,
gotta mix up.
you were there. Dom, you were there when I went off.
I
for
know,
your
I know
Christmas.
that. I know that.
I have
They say like, oh my God,
Son.
you guys loved it. I'm saying that
I have so
you
many
guys liked it somewhat.
Real quick, Sean. I don't know if you know, but if you want to go back and listen to I don't remember, but it was the start of season 2-ish, the end of season
think it was
1
in
of our
December.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was back in December. It's been about a couple weeks since we saw Rise of Skywalker. Look, mind you, I've been a Star Wars fan for about less than a year. I just got introduced into it November of 2019, right?
Wow.
Now I knew about it my entire life, but I never got into it, right?
Yeah.
Darren and Josh, they're the ones who introduced me. They really showed me the movies, and whenever I had a question, they answered it, right? Well, it was mainly Josh because that's one of his things. But Darren, he's also a fan. So it was weird how I was being the loudest because of how much I didn't like it. And everyone else compared to me seemed nonchalantly it was all right. But I was the only one that was how can you like this? Or not how can you like this, but more are you okay with this, man? So going off of Dom, just sidetracking. No, I did not like it. Just to make that clear. I just want to make that clear.
For me,
And so you guys are okay, with them wiping out, the last 3 movies. Because when I first heard that, I thought that was kind of odd because it's okay, these movies are already made and they already, I guess they will play such a big part in the entire franchise. Why would you guys, erase those 3 movies from existence?
Yeah.
I just thought it was kind of dumb.
They were horrible.
I'm going to speak from my experience a little bit. I grew up loving, first of all, Spider-Man was the one thing that remember was one of the first things that I grew up remembering. I had a PlayStation 1 and I played the demo for the original Spider-Man. It doesn't matter. So that's my introduction. And then Star Wars was right after. And I didn't grow up with the original trilogy as Sean did. I grew up with the prequels. That was my first introduction. The first one came out in 1999 and I didn't watch that one because I was 1 year old. My first one was 2005, Revenge of the Sith. I have the poster because that's the first Star Wars movie I ever saw. I had no context of the movie, but I knew that was it was so good. So anyways, as I got older and I watched all the movies, but the prequels are the ones that stuck with me the most because that's what I grew up with. And that's what introduced me to the whole Star Wars lore. I loved it. And I really, really loved the original trilogy as well. I thought it was a lot of fun, family friendly, easy story. And the prequels kind of boosted it for me because I had the knowledge of the prequels to begin with. the sequels, it was tough because as Star Wars fans, and I'm sure Sean can attest to this, we don't want to hate Star Wars movies. We don't like saying that we don't like a Star Wars movie. So for me, it was tough for me to say I didn't like it because I had that denial of I don't want to hate a Star Wars movie. So I forced myself to like it. But as I look back, The Last Jedi, I don't like at all. At first, I was like, I don't think I would have done that with Luke. I don't like his arc. I don't like the way they're treating him. But looking, as I kept looking back at the movies and just digesting it over time, there are so many things that I would change. So many things. I don't hate the new sequels because at the end of the day, it's Star Wars and there's lightsabers and there's TIE fighters. So that's what holds it still together for me is the fact that I can still enjoy, air space battles and all that. Just the cool Star Wars stuff is that you love as a kid. They still have that, and that's what kind of still makes me like I can tolerate it. But it's the story that it's a turnoff. So that's why I'm really back and forth with the movies because I don't like the story that much. The fact that they didn't even mention Anakin, I'm not going to really go hard, but just little things like that. Just the fact that Anakin was the whole central part of the Star Wars story, and he wasn't even mentioned until he had like one sentence in the final movie. It was just, to me, it was disrespectful. Disrespectful to like Obi-Wan and all that, and killing off Han Solo the way that they killed him off. It sucks because they had something there. They had something with Kylo Ren. They had something with the First Order, and they had something with Snoke a little bit. And they threw it away, and it sucks because maybe they could have redeemed it by continuing with the story, but it just at the end of the day, it's not the same as the first 6 that came out. So that's where I kind of stand. It sucks saying it, but yeah, I was in denial for a long time.
Well, you're right. I mean, you're as someone who is a diehard Star Wars fan, you go see the movie and you don't want to go into it saying, "Oh God, this is horrible. Why are they doing this?" You want to like it because it's freaking Star Wars. It's supposed to be good, and I kind of, and I mean, this may be the conspiracy theorist in me, but I kind of, to me, it almost seems like that Kathleen Kennedy and especially Rian Johnson, they wanted to take everything that everybody loved about Star Wars and just destroy it just because they could, just to, give the middle finger to all of the Star Wars fans and go, see, look what we did to your beloved franchise, and you can't, for something that's iconic like Star Wars that literally has influenced the lives of multiple generations of people, you can't do it like that. You just can't disrespect it. Now, you can't, give the fans everything that they want because there's billions of fans out there and you can't make everyone happy, right? But you should at least listen to the general consensus and go, yeah, okay, so we made a bad movie, the first one, we're going to do better on the other 2. And you can forgive one bad screw up, as long as you make the other 2 and they make up for it. But they didn't even try. It's like they didn't even care. They did it just to do it.
Right. A good example would be the prequels, obviously as a trilogy, they're not as good as the original trilogy, but George Lucas, they said less Jar Jar Binks, and then boom, by the 3rd movie, he had like one line, so, and say what you want about the prequels. And and I'm probably saying this as a less biased because I'm just now recently into Star Wars, but to me, 1 and 2 aren't as bad as people say it is to me. Maybe because I had such low expectations and it was like just above it. Plus, the ending of episode 1 was awesome. I will always say that. And I think Josh, and the Duel of the Fates, Darth Maul, all that, that's awesome. But wait, what was I saying? Oh yeah. But George Lucas was listening, throughout the entire thing, and he kind of had a plan. It was like his vision. Now, he has a great creative mind. Now, he could have been helped out on like the writing and all that, but his vision was there, and he had the passion behind it, and you can tell from the movies. And with these new movies, if they didn't have the Star Wars logo attached to them, would you even like it?
I don't like it even though it does have the Star Wars logo attached to it.
Yeah, but I'm it's more of a rhetorical question to the people who are like indifferent. Like, if it didn't have the Star Wars logo, without the music, without the logo, without the costumes, would you like it? Because at the end of the day, the original trilogy, without the Star Wars logo, by the way, the Star Wars logo wasn't a thing back in the original trilogy. Those movies made the Star Wars logo a thing. Yeah. Because back then, no one knew about Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader, but these interesting characters came out, and they were like, wow, that's what made Star Wars started out as big as it is today, And now you can't go around making a space movie without having some inspiration from Star Wars, from something, So it doesn't matter about you got the rights to a movie, like you got the logo, you got the name. If you can make a good movie at all, that's like the first and foremost thing. And then you can play around with now that you have the rights, you can drop characters and names and all that. But
dude, I've seen like 30-minute long fan little mini movies on YouTube that were 10 times better than the crap that they put out with those last 3 trilogies. I'm like, if some kid in his mom's basement, or living in a garage somewhere can buy a computer and learn how to do some CGI, surely Walt Disney Studios could come up with something better than what they did. That's horrible.
Right.
Yeah.
What are your I just wanted to just quickly get your opinion on the prequels, because I know you grew up with the original trilogy, and I know that obviously those are the creme de la creme.
That's the holy grail, yeah.
Exactly. So what are your opinions on the prequels?
I do not like the prequels as much as the original trilogy, but I had to watch them each probably 2 or 3 times, probably a little more than that actually, before I really began to appreciate the little subtleties in there and understand what George Lucas was trying to do. And they're really not that bad. It's almost to the point where Lucas was right at that tipping point of using a little bit too much CGI and special effects that almost overshadowed the storyline. And the thing that's so great about the original trilogy is it was really story driven, because they couldn't do all the effects and everything that we can do with computers. They invented a whole bunch of crap. All the special effects for Star Wars, they invented. That's how Industrial Light and Magic came about, was because of Star Wars, because they had to create their own production studio for that. So, he could focus a lot on story. And then you move along to the late 90s and the early 2000s, and we have this new thing called CGI, and he almost tipped it a little bit too much. I think he was relying a little bit too much on Flash and everything. But overall, they're not that bad. It's interesting to see his mind and how he wanted to introduce the character of Darth Vader, who was this little innocent, however old he was, 6 or 8 year old kid that was a slave, and how that grew into Darth Vader was great to finally be able to see that. I just think Hayden Christensen was not the best choice to play Anakin. He was a little whiny.
Yeah.
But he wasn't Darth Vader then either, right? So,
Yeah. Right. Anybody else have any opinions on the Star Wars thing?
I'm glad I'm not a Star Wars fan.
Basically said everything.
Hang up now, Dominic.
Yeah, we got to work on showing Dominic those movies so he can have these.
Hey, Darren, I told you I'm getting back into Harry Potter. So, we got to have a discussion about that.
Yes, sir. I'm so down. Yeah, Dom's just recently
watched JT.
Are you still on the 6th one? Did you ever watch it? Or
Yeah, I watched the 6th one. I'm going to watch.
Don't say any spoilers.
I'm not giving any spoilers. I'm just saying I'll watch Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2 this weekend.
Say no more.
All right, awesome. We're going to finish off with 2 little just keynotes. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, for The Boys fans, could be kicked out of. Oh, yeah, well, I'm reading the wrong thing. Jeffrey Dean Morgan is in talks to join. Join season 3 of The Boys. Season 2 teaser trailer released, which Dom and JT are the Boys fans. They watched the trailer. What do you guys think about Jeffrey Dean Morgan in talks to join season 3?
Do it.
Well, if you're a huge Walking Dead fan, you would know him as Negan. And Negan is just he's a badass, honestly. But that's like the perfect, if he can take what he played in, like if he could take Negan's kind of characteristics and that like mantra that he has and put it into the Boys, it's perfect. I mean, perfect casting for that. And I know, again, like you said, Josh, Dom and I did see the trailer for season 2. It didn't really tell us much, honestly, in my opinion. I think it really just kind of showed us clips.
A lot of action stuff, basically.
Yeah,
and it looks good too.
Oh, it looks tremendous. I mean, if you have not seen The Boys, I wholeheartedly want you to go see it because it literally will make you like it just.
It might raise your anxiety through the roof. I'll tell you that right now. Like if you're anxiety driven, might not be the show for you, but
I'll tell you this. The first episode, this is how it goes. Like this is how the whole like series is. The first episode, you see a girl get killed by someone who has super speed. You just put that into your imagination and run with it.
I think The Boys is kind of what it would be like if people really did have superpowers.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Very realistic.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah.
So definitely go watch that. It's again Amazon.
September 4th.
Yeah, September 4th. Yep. And the first 3 episodes will be on the release date. So
all right.
Watch it.
Finishing up with our last point, SDCC, San Diego Comic-Con at home. Marvel Studios and DC will not have exclusive panels, and the Wednesday schedule has been released. So unfortunately, we won't be hearing about any future projects from those two from San Diego Comic-Con, so that's unfortunate. But
I'm pretty sure it's because of one for DC. They already have DC Fandom coming out next month. And then Marvel, they might have their own thing coming out because usually they will have, I want to say if they have another DQ3 this year, because that's usually in August or September, I want to say. They might do a virtual thing for that and then release all the Marvel news from there. Yeah. But what other Marvel news is there? Because we already kind of got a bulk of everything.
Everything's already pushed back. So,
they would just probably.
I think what they would announce. I know you're good. I think what they would announce is more of like more trailers and more like casting. You know, because like when we had last year's, we got the Eternals casting and we got like a few trailer like snippets of Falcon and Winter Soldier and like all these other casting, things. They might bring out, like remember at the very end last year they brought out Mahershala Ali as the new Blade. We know nothing about Blade. We just know he's going to play Blade. They could do that for Reed Richards. They could do that for, Doctor Doom. They could bring out this new big bad for the MCU and say, there you go, and then cut it off, leave it there. Personally, I think this is a good idea, honestly. I think I've always thought that Marvel needed their own kind of, there's such a big brand and there's such a big, newsworthy kind of, site, really. And so if you have your own thing, you're going to have more people view into that because that's really what people want to see is they want to see what's next. So I really like this idea, and hopefully they're going to stream it. I'm going to put all my money that they're going to stream it live for anybody to view it. So DC and Marvel are doing a really good thing with this, honestly.
Yeah, I was going to say not just DC and Marvel, but a whole lot of other companies. Earlier in June, PlayStation revealed the PS5. And instead of doing it at a E3 or some other event, they did their own thing. And yes, they probably did that because of COVID-19, but I think that they're considering doing this permanently because it's much more smoother and you get what you want. When you're watching an expo like Comic-Con or E3, you have to cut through stuff that you don't want to see to get the stuff that you do want to see. There's people who want to see Xbox stuff and not really see PlayStation stuff. There's people who want to see Marvel stuff and not really DC stuff. So if everyone does their own thing, and they're all big enough to do their own thing, and we live in such a social media world where you can probably get even more numbers online than you would in person, you know? So I just hope more companies do this, but I don't want like a Comic-Con dying or, E3 dying. But then again, when it comes down to it, I just want the better of the two options, because they haven't confirmed it, but I think Marvel's going to do their own thing. Like DC's doing their own fandom. I think that Marvel's going to do their own thing, and it's going to be well. It's going to go smoothly and everything.
And Star Wars has their own thing too, with Star Wars Celebration every year. So
yeah, and
Right.
yeah, and like Nintendo does their own thing, which is I think Nintendo Direct, and yeah, I mean, more companies should just do that, instead of waiting all on one day, and over the course of a couple of days, you just like bombarded with information about games and movies where they can do their own scheduling, talk about how they want to talk about. And it's better because when you're at a Comic-Con, you're kind of limited to a certain time segment of what you can talk about. But if they host their own event, they can set their own schedule, talk about what they want to talk about, for how long they want to talk about. So there's advantages and disadvantages, but I'm for the separate, like, just you could do your own thing type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be pretty cool if they did that.
all right, sweet. Guys,
I'll close out. I have some other stuff actually.
Oh.
So
I had no
yeah, recently, Christian and I watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and got Josh and Jeremy, and Christian, of course. We recorded a YouTube video, basically taking down Christian's thoughts and basically his whole opinion on the entire trilogy. So that'll be up probably next week on YouTube for a video. And then we've started the Hobbit trilogy. So we're doing it backwards, but we showed them the good stuff first. Now, the Hobbits are great movies, but they just, anyways. But later on, I think we're going to get into Harry Potter. And I also want to take down Dom's opinions and thoughts on the Harry Potter movies he's been watching recently. So I might film a
Can I say
YouTube video on
this
that in the future.
Can I say this about the Harry Potter franchise?
You can say whatever you'd like.
I really hate that I fell off this franchise when it first started up, because right now I'm just so glued into the franchise. I hate that I'm coming in so late and that I fell off.
Better late than never.
Hey, as I always say, better late than never. But
JT doesn't
hey,
understand.
I'm loving the Harry Potter franchise now. Josh, what'd you say?
JT doesn't get it.
He does not get it. Shout out to all. What?
Look, I'll tell you this. I told Darren I would give it a chance. I told him, I said, I will give it a chance.
Hey, but what did I tell you? What did I tell you?
Listen, I gave it an hour and 50 minutes, and I could not. I was like, bro, pause. No, I'm done. I can't. I'm done. No, sir. I'm out.
I told you to watch him with me.
Well, let you boo you. No, what kind of.
So his opinion doesn't count. Shout out to all my Hufflepuffs out there. I am a fellow Hufflepuff myself.
I noticed you took the Pottermore quiz.
I know. At first I was a Ravenclaw when I first took it. That was probably like a year or two ago. But I was like, this is probably wrong. I'm for sure a Hufflepuff at heart. Took it again. I'm a Hufflepuff. And
Yeah,
R.I.P. Cedric Diggory, because I almost cried at his death in Order. Was it Order of the Phoenix?
Spoiler.
That movie has been out for what, over a decade now?
Okay, it's okay.
Yeah. No, you're right.
I was like, I've already been spoiled of the Harry Potter franchise, so I already know like who's gonna die and everything. So
Hey,
I'm just watching it all for myself.
I'm a Slytherin.
Gandalf dies.
I mean, I already got to that part. I told you I watched the 6th movie, Half-Blood Prince. I already watched that.
Oh yes, but
Wait,
yeah,
wait,
definitely.
Darren. Hey, Dom. You ready to start some drama? Where was I? Where was I invited in this Lord of the Rings watch?
It was just for Christian and I.
You said Josh and Jeremy too. I don't want to hear it.
Just for the video.
Nah, I don't want to hear it.
Hey, you
So
didn't
on
get
that note, we will see you guys next week.
No, hold on.
But yeah, that's about it. So we'll just have some future projects, getting released here in the near future for YouTube. But yeah, that's about it. I just wanted to thank Sean for joining us for this episode.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, he reached out to
when
us
you guys
last
get
week.
ready to do an episode or talk about Red Sonja, I'm your guy because I'm a huge Red Sonja fan.
Okay.
Nice.
Stuff. Definitely. Well, yeah. it
And
was a
Josh,
great
I
episode.
want your shirt.
You want my shirt?
I want an ECA shirt, man.
Oh,
Okay.
good stuff.
Let me show you what's on the back of it. If you can see
Uh-oh.
the back of the shirt.
Yeah, there you go.
Sure.
There you go.
That's
We got you. We got you. Don't worry.
Yeah, like
Also, we have other merch.
Ooh, segue.
Yeah, I know, right?
for real. Thank you, Sean, again for joining us. Be sure to follow him at his podcast. I'm just going to name one more time, ParaReal. ParaReal. Be sure to follow him on Twitter. Watch the show. Yeah, for sure. And I just want to say thank you to all our listeners and all the supporters we've been having this last couple weeks. And thank you for all the attention we've been getting on social media. And just want to finish out one last thing by saying JT just put out a vlog on his trip to Comics and Collectibles. So be sure to check that out. And be sure to check out our video on the discussion for Lord of the Rings.
We are so close to 100 subs. I think we're like 10 away from the recording
Yeah,
now.
You can do it. You can
Pretty
do it.
close.
So we appreciate it.
Thank you guys for enjoying this episode. I know this is a very weird video because we don't normally put our normal podcast episodes on YouTube, but just to answer your question, yes, this will be on YouTube, obviously, but this will also be on Anchor if you listen to us on Spotify and Apple Music, Apple Radio, whatever it is, Apple Podcast regularly. This will be on that as well. So I hope you guys enjoy this visual, having Sean with us, and yeah. So guys, from everyone who's here at East Coast Avengers, we will see you next time.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I really enjoyed it.
No
Hey,
problem.
it was
Enjoy
awesome.
having